Welcome to this week's 360 show. The Black Caps will be touring to India. We'll cover the squads and all the news around those matches. Babar, has he been dropped or has he been rested? Playing on the same pitch over there in Multan in Pakistan, Ben Stokes is quite surprised about that. We also cover news from Australia, also South Africa over there in Bangladesh, the Women's T20 World Cup, and 3 more IPL teams. What are they going to do at this year's IPL auction? It's all on the 360 show. Let's go. Let's start with a 360 view with the Black Caps touring to India. They haven't won a test series there ever. The record is not great, but of late in the last 5 test matches they have had some success against India, but not over there in India. The last time New Zealand won a test match in India was in 1988 when John Wright was captain. I think most of the players in an Indian team wasn't even born yet. So that's a very, very long time ago. Also some news with Jasper Bumrah as vice captain being announced. Great news for him. I think it's much deserved. If you just go by performance and the inspiration he's given to so many people in the team and fans around the world, that's more than enough to give him the vice captaincy. But he also comes with a calmness, that fighting spirit that you always see, someone who always competes for the team. So it's great to see him getting rewarded for an incredible cricketing career. It's much deserved. Also Rohit Sharma obviously as captain. Not much has changed in the Indian team except for Yash Dal missing out, but that's purely because there were 16 in the squad last time. Now there's 15. It was not because of bad performance or anything like that. Also more news, Kane Williamson will be missing that opening test match due to a groin injury. He will be very much missed. And let's not take the Black Caps lightly, guys. There's a good team there with a lot of talent. If they can get the runs on the board, and I think that's the biggest threat for them, to score enough runs will be the problem. If they can find a way to get big runs on the board, I believe that bowling attack with Ish Sodhi, Mitchell Santner and some really good seam bowlers can find a way to put India under pressure. And that batting lineup of India have not batted under pressure for a very long time. So that'll be interesting to see. Babar, has he been dropped or rested? Lots happening there with Michael Vaughan having a full go at the Pakistan board or the selectors or whoever made the decision, saying that Pakistan haven't won in a while, go 1-0 down in the series and they drop their best player. Now, I'm of a similar view, except for we're not entirely sure what happened behind closed doors. Maybe Babar asked for a rest. Maybe he really wants to get away from the game for a little while. Maybe not. If that's not the case, I also think it's crazy not to see him in that side. You don't let a guy go like that with incredible class, and we all know what he can do on a cricket park, what he's capable of, right? And it's a matter of time for that form to come back, as class is permanent. So big shock there with Babar out. Also Nazim Shah, Safras Ahmed and Shaheen Afridi all not playing in that next test match. So there are big changes in that Pakistan team. Are they panicking a bit soon? I always like to have consistency throughout a test series, but we don't know what happened behind closed doors, and it's all to play for over there as they are playing on the same pitch. Ben Stokes were quoted saying, "I have never ever played on the same pitch back-to-back games, especially not in test matches." I mean, that is the first time for me. That has never happened before either, and quite a surprise for all of us. As you can see some of the footage there with a fan on there. I'm sure they put a lot of water on there to try and just to recover it a little bit. So Ben Stokes and most of the players expecting more turn, perhaps maybe a bit of reverse swing, as Ben Stokes says there. And it will be interesting to see what happens. It's quite unique. It's never happened before. Well, I'm pretty sure it's happened before, but I've never seen it. And so as Ben Stokes as well, never seen that before. In Multan, that's going to be interesting to see what the teams get up with. Will they change their squads? Will they go with an extra spinner? I do think so. And Ben Stokes also mentioning there, hope we win the toss and we bat first. So already playing his hand and letting the people know what he's thinking. Try and get some runs on the board and hope that pitch deteriorates as they move forward, takes more turn, and also with a bit of reverse swing. Moving on to Australian news then. Cameroon Green out in that test series against India. Quite a serious injury. There were talks that he might possibly also miss out on the IPL. It's still a long way away, so I do believe he's going to find a way to recover and to get back fresh and ready for RCB, hopefully. We'll see what happens at the auction, because he has played a big part in that RCB setup. And also, finally, great news for me. I've called for this from the very start. I called it crazy as they announced it. Steve Smith back in number 4 position. Guys, the record speaks for itself. Average of 61.5, almost 6,000 runs. Batting at number 4, 1900s. Why would you move or someone like that? Why would you change that winning recipe? So finally, sanity prevails, and Steve Smith will be batting at number 4 again. George Bailey confirms. Moving on then, Temba Bavuma to miss that first test match against Bangladesh. As you guys know, South Africa will be playing that very important test series in Bangladesh, a must-win for them, as some of the other test-playing nations have been putting up their hands and playing really good test cricket. It's time for South Africa to step up. But a big blow as Bavuma misses out, and Devil Brevis gets a call-up in his maiden test series for South Africa. Fantastic news there. Whether he'll play or not, I'm not entirely sure. And his record is good, 749 runs at 37.45. It's not incredible, but he has showed, in my opinion, more than enough talent and potential to sort of get a chance there and to get a taste of test cricket so that he can start building on what I believe will be a very, very good career. He's still very young, guys, and he's got plenty of time on his hands. And finally, last but not least, as I'm running out of time, the Proteas women's team have qualified for the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup for the women, playing Australia in the semi-finals. Incredible effort from you ladies. Well done, Proteas. All the very best with that semi-finals. We believe in you guys. We know you can do it. Apologies for going over 360 seconds. Let's move on to part 2. So today we'll be covering then Chennai Super Kings, the Delhi Capitals, and the Lucknow Super Giants. And just a reminder of how it all will work with the caps and the uncaps and the budgets and all of that. 120 crore, that's the most important thing to know, guys. If you want to retain most of your players and you want to play that card, it will cost you quite a bit of money and it will take a big portion away from your budget. The first team then, Chennai Super Kings, MS Dhoni in the IPL. How good is that? I mean, it's an absolute must to retain him. He is the furniture of the Chennai Super Kings, as I have mentioned before. And thank you very much to Dan Weston for the analysis. I've used a lot of your info, and I think you are absolutely spot on with your predictions here and with the information you share with us, with the possibilities. You've got it on here as a must-retain: Ruturaj, Gaikwad, Dube, Patirana, and Dhoni. So the 4 guys there. Obviously, Dhoni qualifying as an uncapped player for this coming season, which plays a huge role for CSK. And just to consider, obviously, more furniture here. Jadeja, we've seen him so much in the yellow jerseys. Also, Chahar, I feel, will be putting up his hand for consideration to be retained. But then what do you do with a budget? We know CSK love keeping a similar kind of team. They want to keep that same flavor. They like to be the team who is consistent. They've got a style of play. They've got a blueprint over there at the Chepauk Stadium, and they have been absolutely incredible over the years, winning a lot of trophies and always being in contention. And I think a lot of credit's got to go to MS, to Stephen Fleming, and also the coaching staff and the mastermind behind that, of keeping this consistency, because that has been their biggest strength. But great to see MS back. It's always been tough to play against him and his troops. They always are busy on the park, and they always seem very clear with their plans, and it makes it really difficult to play against. Likely retentions also there, according to Dan Weston at the bottom: Ruturaj, Dube, Patirana, Jaru, MSD uncapped, obviously. That is the likely ones. Will it happen? It will remain to see. And I would like to hear your thoughts as well, guys. Please post your questions below. We'll obviously discuss more of that in the live show coming this Saturday or this coming weekend. And we'll talk a little bit more about CSK, also Delhi Capitals and LSG, as we are mentioning it now. But let's move on to Delhi Capitals. Obviously, David Warner comes to mind when you talk about DC. He has been the main trooper there as captain. Rishabh Pant, I've got to mention him. Talking about him, that tweet that he put out not so long ago, pretty late at night there. If I go to the auction, will I be sold or not, and for how much? We know Rishabh, always tongue in the cheek, guys, playing around with the thought of possibly going to the auction. And I thought about it so often while I was playing. I was never going to leave RCB, but I always thought, like, what would happen if I did go to the auction? Will I be unsold perhaps and having to play domestic cricket in South Africa that season? There's always that scare in the back of your mind, but also the excitement of possibly not knowing what will happen in an auction. What will a Virat Kohli, for instance, go for in an auction? A Chris Gayle, if he had to go back in the peak of his powers? And Rishabh bringing up this question. I don't think we should take it too seriously, guys. He is a tongue-in-the-cheek kind of character. I have no doubt DC will not let him go. He's too valuable in that side. And the way he's playing now, he is like the main man, the role model there at DC now, and has got a very long and fruitful future there, I believe. And Rise Up Pant here saying Delhi Capitals have the best chance to create a super team for the next cycle. 5 retentions will be best for them. I don't know if I agree with that. It's up for discussion. So please, once again, guys, post your comments below. Let me know what you want me to discuss at that live show. But according to Dan West India, must retain Pant, Akshar, Kuldeep, and to consider Warner, Norkia, Marsh, Brook, Stubbs, Shaw, Ngidi, Shy Hope. So difficult, right? It just shows you all the talent I just mentioned there, match winners left, right, and center. But Dan Weston saying the likely retentions will be Pant, Akshar, Kuldeep, and Purell, who's the uncapped player. And so only 3 retentions, possibly. Maybe they'll sneak in Jake Fraser McGurk there, understanding the potential and the talent of this youngster. If he goes into the auction, guys, he's going to be snapped up by someone like a Mumbai Indians, RCB, whoever. He will be picked up. There's absolutely no doubt about it. When I think of Lucknow Super Giants, I think of KL Rahul. He was captain in that last season. Must retain, according to Dan Weston, KL Rahul, Puran, Bishnoi. I do agree with that. To consider Quinton de Kock, it'll be very difficult for me to overlook him. He is incredibly dangerous up the order. Obviously hasn't had the best of season or two, perhaps losing a little bit of focus, but Quinny is just too good to leave out of the side. There's Parikal as well, Marcus Stoinis, Krunal Pandya, Mayank, and Mosen. Mayank bowling at the speed of light, guys. Once again, difficult decisions to be made, but likely retentions, according to Western here, Puran, Rahul, Bishnoi, Mayank Yadav, Mohsin Khan, the uncapped player. Good ones, but you leave a lot of players in the auction then in a Quinton de Kock, Marcus Stoinis, Parikal, so much talent there that you all of a sudden risk losing. So they're a good squad. They've played good cricket, haven't had the ability to push through in those knockout stages. I believe they will be in contention again. And those are the 3 teams for this show's IPL retention talk. We'll cover more of that in the live show this coming weekend. So please post your questions below and put up some ideas of who you think will be retained in those 3 teams. And guys, I promise you, RCB will be discussed in length. Obviously, I'm passionate about the franchise, and I would love to have as much information as possible before I go into that beast, because I believe they need some change, and it need to be smart changes. Moving on then to AB Reacts. I love this. I don't know when last I've heard of this tournament, but it's been a long time. The Hong Kong Sixers. South Africa have won this before. And there's the team. Captain John Smuts, Aubrey Swanepoel, Don Radebe. I'm not familiar with him. Evan Jones, I know well. Big power hitter guy. Jock Snyman, I've heard of before. Lutando Madiri and Matthew Boast. Good side there. Going over there to Hong Kong to try and win another title. Wow, guys. Just imagine putting up your best Hong Kong Sixers team. I think of guys like Lance Klusener, Chris Gayle. I could make up an incredible side. I think Matthew Hayden I'll throw in there. But just remember they have to bowl as well. So maybe Matthew Hayden is not the best option. I could come up with an incredible team, I believe. All-rounders. Marco Jansen, perhaps. So many incredibly talented players. I think of Justin Kemp, former Protea legend, who bowled and hit a very big ball. I'll throw myself in there to be the wicketkeeper batsman as well. Moving on to one of the biggest legends of all time, tennis players, Rafa Nadal, has called the retirement on his career. This guy's really inspired me over the years, purely because of his fighting spirit. I love sportsmen and sportswomen who have that never say die attitude, and Rafa was the ultimate when it comes to that. I put out a tweet saying huge respect. I can relate to his fighting spirit and always admired that. A true champion. And guys, is one of those players who just never out of the battle. It reminds me a bit of the way Australia play the World Cups. They always hunt you down. They always look for opportunities. And some of the best players in the world, some of the best sportsmen and sports people and personalities in the world have this ability. Djokovic also put up an incredibly emotional and good post talking about Rafa and just congratulating him on his career and also thanking him for pushing him up and making him play better and reaching more for the stars than ever before because Rafa pushed him so hard. So great respect between the champions. Big news there. Mark Boucher steps down. He's been left out as the head coach for Mumbai Indians, and Mahela Jayawardene are back in the office as the Mumbai Indians tweeted there. Big blow for Boucher. I think he never reached his potential there at the MI. Unfortunately, as he came in, the form also dropped with a whole new look squad. A little bit unfair in a way, if you had to ask me, because they had a very, very young squad. They experimented with a lot of young players. And it takes time, guys, for those guys to get used to the IPL, to the coaching style of Boucher. Unfortunately, he was in and out there, and Jayawardene are taking over. Very safe hands. Nothing wrong with that pick. He's been with the Mumbai Indian squad for a long, long time, and it's an absolute no-brainer to have him as head coach. It's just a shame to see Boucher go. As you guys know, he's a good friend of mine, and I don't feel he had enough time to build that blueprint that he really wanted to with a young squad. So in the comms box, we have a lot of very nice comments from you guys. Obviously, on the Instagram broadcast channel, I asked you guys to share some phrases and words and your favorite sentences from your mother tongue, of your language that you speak. And I wanted to get to know some of these phrases from different languages around the world. So thank you very much for taking part of that. I'm also going to teach you something in my mother tongue, which is Afrikaans. And that is my hart klop vir jou, which means my heart beats for you. So remember that, guys. My heart beats for you, 360 fam. I'm going to read out a few of these phrases from different languages around the world, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you very much for these. Ami Tumake Valubasi it means I love you. Danjabat, thank you. Tumi Kimon Achu, how are you? And that's all Bengali language. So thanks for that one. Kemche means how are you in Gujarati. Kasto Hunu Ucha, how are you in Nepali? Thank you very much from Nepal there. Great little phrase there. How are you doing? It reminds me of Joey from Friends. Pretty cool one, that. Henry Media, what is media? Very famous dialogue in Karnataka. Pretty cool one. Thank you very much for that. Kaya Kave Kailasa, and that meaning is work is worship. Also Kannada language. Pretty cool, guys. Shubho Sharodia, that's wishing happy Durga Puja that happens in autumn in Bengali. I'm going to cover quite a lot of these, guys. I absolutely love it. Keep posting in that broadcast channel on Instagram. I really love it, and it's pretty cool stuff. Heart to heart. We're going to move on to the 360 quiz. And last week's question, who's the best fielder I've ever played alongside? All of you got it right, guys. Absolutely incredible. It was very difficult. I took a blindfold and I picked a winner. And this week's winner was Metla Aravind Chaudhary. And the answer was Herschel Gibbs. Congratulations, Medara Metla. I hope I pronounced your name all right. And you will be receiving your award. Congratulations with this one. And this week's 360 quiz, look at that. Wow, I look young. I look like a young pup. Very cool one there. So the question is, I taught you a phrase in Afrikaans not very long ago. I hope you were listening in my language, my mother tongue, as I learned the phrases you shared in yours. What was the phrase and what is the meaning thereof? I hope you guys get it right. And thank you very much for joining me on this week's 360 show. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Also hit that like button and follow me on socials as per usual. I will be updating you over there when I go live and when the shows will be released, and also some personal content of my life in general, some promotional stuff in there as well. And sometimes I feel bad, but it's important to keep my supporters happy as well, the guys who keep the show going, and the various other areas of my life. Thank you very much. Remember, my heart klop vir jou. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you on 360 Live this coming weekend.